10 Golden Age stars who actually killed people. They wowed us on screen. They dazzled us in interviews. They signed autographs with a smile that left fans weak in the knees. And some of them left a body count. Hollywood's Golden Age was more than just glitz and glory. There were dark secrets that spinner of tales, Hollywood, and fixers, along with sharp lawyers, were working around the clock to keep under wraps. There were darker shadows behind Hollywood's perfected publicity gimmicks and performances for a star in Hollywood's Golden Age. Some of these were mere screen performers in films. Some of these were actual killers of human lives. These were individuals who were killed by celebrities that audiences were celebrating, cheering for, and taking into our homes. These events either received publicity, but were subsequently suppressed from our memory. Some of these incidents were suppressed for so long that an oil tanker of truth was spilled many years later. Publicity agents of Hollywood were merely silencing secrets of Hollywood's Golden Age. These publicity agents not only silenced secrets of Hollywood, but also deaths. Number 1. William S. Burroughs. William S. Burroughs was no ordinary writer. A giant of the Beat generation and then a cult film star, he produced avant-garde classics like Naked Lunch that inspired countless others. His skeleton-like features and affectless, monotone delivery are immediately distinctive. But then, too, he was a man who shot his wife square in the face and barely faced punishment. In 1951, Burroughs shot and killed his wife, Joan Vollmer, in a drunken reenactment of William Tell for a group of friends at a Mexican restaurant in Mexico City. The essential circumstances were never in dispute. Heavy with drink, Burroughs declared he would fire a shot from a pistol and knock an object from Joan's head. She placed a gin goblet on her crown and Burroughs, taking aim, missed and shot her point blank in the forehead, killing her instantaneously. Here, of course, the extraordinary privilege that Burroughs would come to epitomize comes into play. His friends present witnessed gross reckless behavior, but only a mere 13 days of jail followed. Burroughs pleaded accident, left the country, and never did a day of actual hard time. His rich family employed a sharp lawyer, and those were let slide with a small bail, which allowed him to slip out of Mexico. He was convicted in absentia, but of course, by then, the culprit was out of reach. The tragedy assumed a chilling cultural significance as Burroughs' star continued to ascend. Rather than damaging his reputation, Joan's death became part of his story. Burroughs has himself claimed that her death activated him, inspiring him to become a writer. The death was part of his legend, even as Joan Vollmer, a key player in the formative Beat intelligentsia, became a footnote. Burroughs became a literary star, screen star, and artistic collaborator, ubiquitous in his success, as Joan was forever stuck at 28, her life and promise annihilated in an instant with a mere squeeze of a trigger. Number 2. Gig Young. Gig Young was Hollywood elegance. He was a good-looking, witty, and refined actor who specialized in playing sophisticated, suave males. This came to a peak in 1970 when he won the Oscar for They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Nothing, however, in this refined facade suggested that he was a troubled individual with a history of alcoholism, depression, and erratic behavior. Least of all, that he was a potential murderer, as evidenced by acts that led to his own death and that of his young bride. On September 27, 1978, barely 3 weeks since he married his fifth wife, 31-year-old German actress Kim Schmidt, Young recreated a nightmare in their Manhattan apartment. He shot Schmidt in the head, then turned the gun on himself. The building's security director found them when friends became worried since neither Young nor Schmidt would answer their phones. There was no note, no message, no warning where and how it would have averted this tragedy. Though those who knew him were aware that Young struggled with alcoholism and depression, no one anticipated that it would lead to murder and then to his own death. Just 3 weeks ago, Young married Schmidt in a celebration that seemed to reinvigorate Young. While friends felt that Young seemed rather optimistic about this fresh start in his life, a lot of people sensed that he seemed rather erratic a couple of months back. The champagnes from their wedding celebration were barely flat when police were taking their bodies from their new home. Young's star had been falling, but he was still a familiar and revered figure. Movies such as _Teacher's Pet, underscore the Three Sisters underscore, and his Oscar-winning performance ensured that he was a contemporary of note, with many thinking that he was due for a comeback. That all changed in an instant. His swan song would completely revalidate every event that preceded it, taking a lifetime of refined arrogance and using it as a lead-in to an apocalyptically violent event that would shatter Hollywood and take 2 lives. Number 3. Paul Kelly. Paul Kelly did what no one else could have done. He killed a man with his bare hands, served a prison term, and then resumed a successful career in Hollywood. His tale has been a testament to the most comprehensive rehabilitation of a star-turned killer, a reflection of both Hollywood's public relations acumen and their preparedness to turn a blind eye to even murder when a lucrative star was involved. Kelly began with promise as a legitimate stage and silent screen star of 1920s Broadway, but his burgeoning career came to a standstill as a result of a violent outburst that left a man dead. In 1927, Kelly quarreled with actor Ray Raymond over his sexual affair with actress Dorothy Mackay, who was also Raymond's wife. A fight turned ugly, turning physical as well. Kelly beat up Raymond severely. Although this beating started out as a death warrant for Ray Raymond, it would take him just 2 days to die from it. Kelly was charged with manslaughter, which meant that when he received a jail term of 1 to 10 years in San Quentin, it was likely that no premeditation of taking a life was involved in this unfortunate event. Despite the severely initial beating, he served an astonishingly short prison term of just 25 months, only to be paroled. Kelly's return to Hollywood was incredible. He re-entered the film world as if no event had occurred. The studios, with their keen acumen for business rather than their moral fiber, were happy to take him back because he has served his time, shown remorse for his actions in public, and still had acting talent that they could exploit for their own profit. In a macabre twist, Kelly married Dorothy Mackay, who also served a prison term for covering up evidence related to her husband's death. This union produced a bizarre, disturbing coda to the troubles that brought her and Kelly together. Following prison, Kelly starred in popular films such as The Flying Tigers, The Glass Key, and Crossfire. Kelly transitioned from silent films to talkies, starting a career that earned him a reputation as a flexible, admired supportive actor. By the time of his death in 1956, many in Hollywood and in his audience were unaware of his violent history. Kelly served a prison term, then received a second chance. His tale showed how quickly Hollywood would blur the line between a film star's screen persona and their personal behavior when sufficient profit potential became available. Number 4. Fatty Arbuckle. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's trial remains one of Hollywood's most sensational cases, a career ruined for a death for which a star was officially acquitted. Though acquitted of manslaughter in 3 separate trials, in the court of public opinion, Arbuckle was found guilty, becoming Hollywood's first great martyr to moral hysteria in the press. In 1921, Arbuckle, then one of Hollywood's most popular and highest-paid celebrities, was charged with the death of actress Virginia Rapp in a hotel room in San Francisco. Rapp violently sickened during a party, subsequently dying from peritonitis due to a ruptured bladder. Historians still debate what occurred in that hotel room. One side claimed that Arbuckle, who was grossly overweight, harmed her. The other claimed she suffered from a pre-existing condition. The lurid tales of what occurred in that hotel room, as suggested in sensationalized reporting in newspapers, involved bottles, rape, and assault, but none of those charges were proven. Arbuckle was tried 3 times. The first 2 resulted in a hung jury, but in the third he received not only an acquittal, but also a rare official apology from the jury, who were sorry for putting him through all that nonsense. This lasted only 6 minutes, as their opinion of the strength of the prosecution's charges would attest. However, this would not save his career. The Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, fronted by Will Hayes, barred Arbuckle from appearing in their films, and even when this was repealed, no film studio would hire him. His films were removed from theaters, contracts were voided, and his popular screen persona was permanently blackened. Arbuckle's story became how Hollywood would consequently cover up all other scandals in the future. Mankind would get sacrificed for the reputation of Hollywood. Though not guilty, Arbuckle would never live down the publicity surrounding his involvement in Rapp's death. He resumed working, but only as a producer, using a pseudonym, William Goodrich. He was just lining up a comeback as an actor when he suffered a heart attack in 1933, which killed him at the tender age of 46. His legacy remains a wonderful example of how public opinion will destroy a career in spite of being declared innocent in a court of law. Number 5. Robert Blake. Robert Blake's career in Hollywood spanned from child performances in Our Gang comedies to a distinguished starring role in the 1970s television series Beretta. His distinctive voice, intense performances, and rough, edgy persona were a familiar fixture for many years. This all changed in 2001 when Blake became a suspect in the murder of his second wife, Bonnie Lee Backley, who was shot and killed outside a restaurant in Studio City, where she and Blake were dining. Blake claimed that he found her body in their parked car when he went back for a gun that he claimed to have left in the restaurant. Such a strange series of events raised immediate suspicions. Their marriage was fraught from the beginning. Blake was angry at Backley, whom he felt deceived him by using paternity tests to prove he was the father of her child. Prosecutors claimed that Blake planned to murder her, either himself pulling the trigger or hiring a third-party assassin. Stunt doubles came forward claiming that Blake asked them to kill his wife, but none of them followed through. The defense argued that there was no physical evidence connecting Blake to the shooting, that Backley had a history of cons and people with reasons of their own for wanting her dead. Blake was acquitted of murder in 2005 in a criminal trial, but was found liable for her death in a civil suit that same year. This $30 million debt, subsequently lowered to $15 million, left him broke. This double verdict sparked a public debate as to how Blake went free in a criminal court but not in a civil court. Blake lived with a cloud of guilt over his death of his wife until his own death, but Hollywood never accepted him back either. Number 6. Rex Bell. Rex Bell started as a handsome Hollywood Western star before venturing into politics, where he became the Lieutenant Governor of Nevada. His union with legendary actress Clara Bow further incorporated glamour into his persona, with both of them forming a popular public couple. Beneath this respectable veneer, however, there were long-held rumors that suggested that Bell murdered a man in a Las Vegas hotel in 1937 over comments that were directed at Bow. According to tales that have been recorded in Nevada history, there was an argument in which Bell engaged that went violent, with the result being that the person died. There were no police records, no charges, and no news coverage, mainly due to powerful attorneys getting involved before this matter reached any official body. Reports from early Las Vegas history suggest that witnesses were bribed to remain silent, that officials were convinced to let the matter die, and that evidence literally vanished overnight. The victim's name never even went on record, and this event, like all of Hollywood's dirty secrets, became a mere whisper in circles that knew of Hollywood's early influence in Nevada. Bell faced no repercussions. There was no charge, no official questioning, no further investigation. Bell went on to build a substantial political career. From lieutenant governor to respected entrepreneur, he lived a life of perfect public reputation. Meanwhile, Clara Bow just kept on smiling for her photographers, and Bell kept his secrets. Whether this event occurred remains a question of historical record. Certainly, it has been long enough ago that a definitive answer seems unlikely, but that it has endured as long as it has remains a testament to how much access Hollywood, its influence, its friends, once wielded. A crime as egregious as murder could simply fall below radars when the right people wished it to. This story of Bell retains a relation as Hollywood's most extreme example of scandalmongering in regards to how incidents never reached mainstream. Witnesses seemed to melt away, and a potential crime became a mystery so profound that historians now know little but a shadow of what occurred. Number 7. Spade Cooley. Spade Cooley was also known as the King of Western Swing. This man was a band leader, musician, and television host. He was also a popular entertainer in Southern California in the 1950s. His fiddle-playing, congenial personality, and connections in Hollywood, as a result of his involvement in Western films, made him a beloved musician who brought enjoyment to American homes. Yet, this pleasant public personality masked a potential for violence, that even experienced homicide detectives found astounding when it finally occurred. Cooley's professional accomplishments, of course, are irreparably marred by what has proven to be one of the most egregious cases of domestic homicides in the history of the entertainment industry, that being the torture and killing of his own wife, Ella Mae Cooley, in 1961. Cooley's jealousy over a presumed affair that would later be proven untrue precipitated an assault that raged for hours, and which included beatings, stomping, cigarette burns, and other sadistic tortures that occurred in front of their 14-year-old daughter, Melody, whom Cooley forced to bear silent witness, as he informed her of how those who cheated on Cooley would pay for their infidelity. Over 40 injuries were found in what was left of her body, including ruptured blood vessels and internal bleeding. Cooley quickly tried to cover for his actions by claiming that his wife had fallen in the shower, but his story proved difficult to support in light of his daughter's eyewitness report. Due to the nature of this crime, even Cooley's Hollywood contacts were powerless to protect him. He was convicted of first-degree murder and received a life sentence. His career as an entertainer was over, but his identity was also forever changed from that of a favorite performer to a hardened felon. In 1969, Cooley received a 72-hour furlough for a benefit performance for a police charity. After receiving a long-overdue standing ovation, which was the first in 8 years, Cooley suffered a heart attack backstage and died before he could return to prison. His death served as a macabre finishing touch to a condemned felon who received a well-deserved murderous performance as a curtain call to a life of death. The contradiction that Cooley faced in his own story has been one of the most disturbing in entertainment history. These are the same hands that brought music from strings that were attached to violins. These are also the hands that tortured and murdered the mother of his children. Cooley's story argues that one action of violence, especially those that are witnessed and proven, can completely eliminate a career with no room for a new narrative. His career in music now appears as a footnote to a violent death that has left no goodwill in his wake. Number 8. Johnny Lewis. Johnny Lewis's Hollywood status came through blood ties, not accomplishment. A grandson of Hollywood star Loretta Young from the golden age of cinema, he knew Hollywood power and privilege from a young age. Though he did manage to secure a role in television series like Sons of Anarchy, his career never reached the heights of his family status. His troubled, tumultuous death, however, proved to be a profound meeting of Hollywood, mental illness, and potential disasters averted. In the period preceding his death, his actions became increasingly erratic, including arrests, strange incidents, and suggestions of a potential mental illness that were left untreated. His downward trajectory concluded in 2012, when he murdered his 81-year-old landlord, Catherine Davis, and her cat in a psychotic episode that turned violent, beating her, then choking her to death. This attack was a reflection of his potential break with reality rather than a deed-driven motive. Following his attack on two neighbors who attempted to intervene, Lewis climbed to a roof, where he either fell or jumped to his death. There were no drugs in his toxicology results, which further reinforced suggestions that his untreated psychological illness, which possibly accelerated due to a recent motorcycle accident, led to his violent outbursts. The picture of a man with roots in Hollywood performing violently in a driveway after taking a life defined the gravity of his psychological breakdown. The story of Lewis is a Hollywood tragedy of contemporary import, the curse of stardom that provides privilege but no shield against a breakdown of the mind. A family member of the then-protected screen star Loretta Young, this story was reported with a frankness which would never have been allowed in her day. His story was a charnel house reminder that no amount of screen stardom, family prestige, and Hollywood pull can provide a shield against disaster when mental health services fail. He lost his status with a corresponding fall from a roof, taking a life to mark his own personal ruin. Number 9. Cheryl Crane. Cheryl Crane's story differs from all other cases since her killing, which she perpetrated, was declared to be justified. It was a teenage girl defending her mother, movie star Lana Turner, from her brutal gangster boyfriend. This story has become legendary in Hollywood as a case of necessary violence as opposed to criminal action, but the publicity that followed wasn't much different than in a film noir. In April 1958, Turner was being threatened by her boyfriend Johnny Stompanato, known to be Mickey Cohen's enforcer, in an argument, in which he said he would disfigure her face and ruin her career. This was overheard by Cheryl, who was just 14 years old, and she grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed him in the abdomen when she thought he was going to attack her mother. He died before medical help could be administered, since he bled too much. An investigation ensued to discern if this was a criminal act, a murder, or a justifiable homicide, since she was defending her mother. An inquest led to a verdict that it was, in fact, a justifiable homicide. Although this judicial consequence left her without charges, its effects led to many years of trauma for Cheryl. The tabloids filled her world with questions, conspiracy theories, and doubts about her actual involvement in holding a knife. The industry machine went into overdrive to protect Turner's career, weaving a tale of heroism and peril, as well as covering up adverse circumstances. Nonetheless, for Cheryl, many of these traumatic circumstances were extremely costly for many years to come, as she faced attempted suicides, drug problems, and stays in a mental institution and a reform school. It wasn't until she was a grown woman that Crane felt she found a sense of grounding in a career in real estate, as well as writing her own biography, where she reinforced her version of self-defense. There are many lessons in her story that highlight how, even in situations where the use of force has been proven necessary, the toll in terms of psychology has still been exacted. A young woman may well have saved her mother's life, but she has also taken a life, for which no move on the part of a Hollywood lawyer can expunge. Number 10. Charles Chaplin Jr. Charles Chaplin Jr. was born with one of Hollywood's greatest legends. Being the oldest brother of Charlie Chaplin, he came with a set of expectations that he would never realize and certain benefits he would squander. His acting career was limited, but being part of Hollywood royalty ensured that he experienced certain safeguards, especially in situations where he was responsible for someone else's death. In the 1960s, Chaplin Jr. was involved in a deadly drunk driving accident. While it has never been clearly ascertained how this accident occurred, this is also due in part to a lack of official records, since it was a policy of this era to keep as little paperwork as possible. There are claims that he drove drunk, striking another automobile, resulting in the death of at least one person. In this extremely disturbing case, he received a reduced charge. Chaplin Jr.'s experience exemplified how privilege was sustained over several generations. He was no major star, but he derived from the respect, fear, and deference that emanated from his father's reputation. His own troubles with alcohol would continue all his life, which would contribute to his early death at the age of 42 in 1968. The fatal accident would remain a black spot in his eventful life, but it never dominated that life as it would with others. The lack of available public information on this affair in and of itself offers proof of how well Hollywood maintained their own, even when this individual has shown no personal achievement. Chaplin Jr. was shown leniency not for who he was, but for who his father was. His life was a perfect example of the idea of inheriting a privilege, which followed him even when a different individual offered the ultimate sacrifice.